What's up, SVSers? Welcome to the 93rd edition of the SVS Audiophile Happy Hour. And we've got a new, not a new face, but we've got a familiar face who is filling in for our director.
Not that new. How long have you been with SVS, Smith?
Oh, like 11 years.
I mean, only with a team like us would 11 years be a new guy.
So actually, I think, Smith, this is probably your fourth or fifth time. Every time we do a product launch, we roll you out. So I don't want people to get too excited like we're actually going to launch a new product tonight. But, you know, it always is a pleasure to have Smith, our chief engineer, designer. Smith, how are you this evening?
I'm great. Thanks, Nick.
And you make up a new title for him every time he's on the show.
I do.
That is actually not his title.
Well, that's right. You need a nice nameplate right above your door there. Then I can't get it wrong ever again.
Well, he's going to need a large door for all the titles you've given him.
That's right. Well, I do know Larry's title, our national training manager. Larry, how are you this evening? It looks like you're outside of home.
Yep, I am good. I am in Minneapolis hanging out with some of our local retailers here, just bouncing in, doing some visits and small scale trainings and seeing how things are going.
Excellent. Well, always a pleasure. At the Road Warrior joining us from afar. And of course, Gary Yakubian, our president. Gary, how are you this evening?
I love this. This is always the highlight of my week. We were looking forward to it. We're not going to have a full lightning round, right? I think we have a guest. As long as did he show up yet?
I'm not seeing him yet, but we gave Jason Gorber some leeway. He's a second-time visitor on the happy hour, and he was sort of a last-second fill-in. Ed has got some time off today, so we got Smith, our all-star replacement, and Jason Gorber, who is a famed film critic who's supposed to be joining us here at some point. But if not, then we're going to answer your questions, and we'll just add more value that way. So we're here for you. As is the norm. Oh, and I see Jason just joined, so we will bring him out here shortly. Excellent. But as is the norm, we have multiple giveaways this evening. All you have to do to be eligible to win is leave a comment. So all these amazing comments that are coming in now, you're eligible for the giveaways. We will announce the winners live on the air, and then Vince, who's working behind the scenes, will reach out to you and get your information so we can ship out the products. And Larry, I know you're on the road, but did you get a chance to review those?
You probably want to remind people, it doesn't matter how many comments you make, you still get one entry. You can't game that system.
Absolutely. I should never take that for granted. Although we love to see the conversations and questions and answers happening in the comments, but you get one comment, you get one entry.
You know, definitely comment as much as you want. We love seeing what you have to say.
And so, Larry, what are we giving away this evening?
So the first prize is going to go to someone's going to win the SVS Prime Wireless Pro powered bookshelf speakers, followed up by an SB1000 Pro subwoofer. And then we're doing a 3000 micro subwoofer to end things off tonight. So we've got 3 awesome prizes for you all.
That's right. And I saw a couple of people who were saying how thrilled they'd be to win a subwoofer. So we're going to make a couple of people very happy this evening. And I have a lot of questions for Jason. I'm super excited whenever he comes on because he's got so many great insights about cinema. So I'm not going to rush things, but I do want to get into some of our recommendations here as far as content that we've been into. Smith, I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't give you much time to prepare for this, but any new albums, music, live events you've been to, TV shows, what do you got for us as far as recommendations?
I've not been to any TV shows, no. No, but I did go see 9 Inch Nails in Los Angeles for the last show of this tour with Boys Noise, and it was the day that they launched the Tron Ares soundtrack. So I've been listening to a lot of Nails, and it's been awesome. And it was an amazing show, despite Gary's opinion of the show he went to. I thought it was great.
Well, I might just have been in the wrong headspace when I saw them. I told you that. So you thought it was great?
I had a great time.
All right, we got 9 Inch Nails. I will go next. I started a new series with my wife. I think it's become the most watched on Netflix here over the past couple of weeks, called Black Rabbit. It's sort of a restaurant thriller drama, and Jason Bateman is in it. And I found it.
No spoilers. I want to see that.
No spoilers whatsoever. But for those of you who have worked in the hospitality industry, I think there's some things you could relate to in there, and then some things that maybe you couldn't relate to. But it's a great sort of crime drama if you're into that kind of thing, and it moves quickly. So, and not one of those that'll put you to sleep. I don't know if this happened to other people, but I actually forgot I was watching Alien Earth. So I have to pick that back up here tonight or tomorrow, get back on the rhythm with Alien Earth, because I've been distracted by Black Rabbit, as well as the Terminal List Dark Wolf, which is sort of a, Marine Navy SEAL drama that's on, I believe, Apple TV. So yeah, I've been into those two, and have to pick up Alien Earth tonight. Very watchable, great audio tracks on those, so I would recommend all of them. Larry, what have you been tuning into here on your travels?
Man, I have been watching Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus, and I've watched all 4 seasons over the last couple weeks while we've been on the road, and really thoroughly enjoyed it. And the new season premiered last night on Apple, so I'm
I've
excited
heard that's
to.
really good. That's another one I'd like
It's
to see.
it's really excellent. The cast in there is really good, and there's an actor in there, and I'm just going blank on his name. He's the lead outside of Gary Oldman, who I think should maybe be in the running for James Bond, because they just announced today they're going to start working on casting that in the near future. And if you didn't see some trailers, there were some cool trailers this week too for the new Mandalorian movie, a movie called The Bride by Maggie Gyllenhaal, where um, Christian Bale's playing Frankenstein. It kind of looks like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of movie, so
Hmm.
looks pretty interesting. And getting stoked for some horror movies. And tonight I may go, depending. It is doing special screenings at AMC, and they're showing it in Dolby Cinema, followed by a special look at the new Welcome to Derry show. So I might go do that.
All right. Sorry, I'm covering up your faces with the comments there, Larry, but we're getting the other recommendations in there, so no offense to you personally. Gary, share us your recommendations. What do you have for us?
Well, I've had some really good experiences, and I did have an embarrassing confession to make as well today. But I saw, I'm going to say this because I think one of the most fun dates you can go, especially if you live in a major metropolitan area, is go to your local best comedy club, because it's a cheap date. It's almost always fun. We saw a couple weeks ago Tony Rock, who is Chris Rock's brother, but he is excellent in his own right, and we just loved it. So shout out to Tony Rock. And saw DL Hughley a couple of nights ago. The DC Improv is a really fun club. I see some DC area people commenting. That's just so much. It's like $20 a ticket, and it's just the best date night. So totally recommend that. Totally recommend Tony Rock and DL Hughley. And then I have a little mini contest, and I think maybe we'll just let a random commenter on the contest win this prize. So do we have a prize for this, or do I make one up, or what?
You make one up. We could do a plaque and just choose at random based on the answers, or if you want to go a little bit more up, we could.
No, we should do something better than a plaque.
Plaque and a T-shirt.
PB-17 Ultra Revolution. How about that, Gary? No, that's
too much. Too much.
Satellites? Pair of Prime satellites?
How about a pair of Prime Elevation, because it's a little more versatile speaker.
All right.
So Prime
Vince,
Elevation, whatever finish you choose. So here's my challenge to the SVS community, and I'm also going to make a confession to the SVS community after this. So my challenge to the new music I've heard, love the new 9 Inch Nails soundtrack, but I also love the new Cardi B. So I recommend that as well, although it doesn't sound as good as 9 Inch Nails. Okay, I saw Outlaw Music Festival, and it had 4 acts. I'm going to tell you who the 4 acts are. And you have to tell me in order to win Prime Elevation. And it's just we're going to keep it random because Nick does not feel we have the technology to choose the first person to get it right. So we'll just keep it random.
Too much pressure.
So I saw the Outlaw Music Festival is Waxahachie, Sheryl Crow, Bob Dylan, who I've probably seen 50 times. So you can decide what based on that what my answer, the answer to my question will be, and Willie Nelson, who I've seen 5 or 6 times. So there of these 4 acts, one I didn't get to see, but I really wished I could have seen. One surprised the heck out of me with how good it was. One was the absolute best of the 4, and one was the absolute worst of the 4. So does anyone want to guess? It's Waxahachie, Sheryl Crow, Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson. One I wish I could have seen but didn't. One was the best, one was the worst, and one was shockingly good. I didn't expect. So,
Dylan
come
was
on.
the worst.
Who was the
I think
okay?
you
Who
gotta
was
start
the
with the
worst?
worst. You generally
was
got to
the
start
worst?
with the worst. You want me to? I'll venture the first guest here. I'm just basing this solely on your delivery that the worst was Dylan, and that's a guess. You know, you don't spill anything yet.
Very good. You're a mind reader. That was Dylan's worst performance I've seen. He was wearing a hoodie. You couldn't even see him. He was hiding behind like lights, so you couldn't see him. I'm not sure what is going on with him. I adore him. He's my friend, though he's never met me. But I would say his was the worst. So,
right.
Who was the person I didn't get to see, but I wish I saw?
All right. Well, we got
Willie.
a lot of guesses for Waxahachie as the surprising. Sorry, I'm trying to find the comments of the most surprising.
Okay, I'm looking here. These are all wrong. Okay.
Sheryl Crow was the best.
Sheryl Crow was the surprisingly good one. I did not know how great she was going to be. She was so much fun. She sang her truth. The band was great. Loved Sheryl Crow. Totally recommend it. Waxahachie, we did not get there in time. I love Waxahachie. I told you guys about her latest album. I don't know if people tried it. She's great. And I missed it, and I heard she was really good in the show. And the best was 92-year-old Willie Nelson. He was unbelievable. I couldn't believe how good he was. He played guitar so well. He sang beautifully. His voice was perfect. And my wife made me stay. I was like, let's just get out of here. I was demoralized after Dylan, but she's like, we're not going to miss Willie Nelson. And he was amazing. So if you get a chance to see him, go for it. And I'm sure Dylan, by the way, he always surprises. This time he surprised me in a bad way, but he's always great. So if you get a chance to see him, I mean, that's like literally 50 times I've seen him. Okay, now I'm going to do my embarrassing confession. And I feel I owe this to the SVS community to tell you that the show I have been watching, I almost don't even want to say it, and I hope you don't think less of SVS, is The Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm very sorry to tell you, but it's totally sucked me in. And by the way, the music, and a lot of times music just bugs the heck out of me in TV shows. I can't stand the music in White Lotus. Yeah, White Lotus. They play all this kind of local country music, and I'm like, I wince when I'm hearing it. I can't stand it. The Summer I Turned Pretty, it's obviously not intended for someone my age, a male my age, but the music in it is awesome. They've got music from my generation. They've got music from today. It's just great. And the story does suck you in. So yes, that's my guilty pleasure. I confess to the SVS community, The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is on Prime.
All right. You're always good for a, deep track recommendation. And, even the Cardi B thing threw me a little bit. But hey, you know what? It's all about eclectic tastes.
This person is calling for a boycott of SVS because I watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. That's an overreaction. Who's saying
somebody else is asking Gary. Somebody's wanting to know what summer you turned pretty, Gary.
I never turned pretty. Maybe that's why I watched that show.
That's right. You got time. There's enough youth in you to still pull that off. All right. Before we bring out our guest, and I am super excited, we're going to do our first giveaway. But I did want to mention there was a video that posted earlier this week that I just wanted to mention because I thought the concept was really good. Andrew Robinson, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know from YouTube, did a video about can a $10,000 hi-fi system compete with a $100,000 system? And conveniently, SVS is mentioned in a couple different systems as part of his video here. But I just thought it was an interesting, thought about the law of diminishing returns and sort of how high performance audio works. And so I wanted to throw it out there. I do recommend you check out the video. He's got great recommendations for ancillary components, integrated amplifiers, turntables, things like that to go with, whatever speakers that you want to choose. But I thought the concept was good. And I wanted to throw it out to at least the team here to comment on if you had thoughts on sort of that comparison that he's trying to make with this new video. And Gary, we can start with you.
Well, I did want to say something because I think it's a very I love Andrew Robinson. He's got a great vibe when you watch his show. I never get bored, and I do this. I've done this my whole life, and you sometimes I feel jaded watching some of these podcasters or video bloggers, but Andrew always keeps my attention, and he appreciates high performance audio that doesn't break the bank, and I respect that. And he's given us our kudos at times, but that's not the reason. But I think when he's saying, can a $10,000 system, really compete with a $100,000 system? A lot of times in the day we would say, that last 5% costs you a lot of money. That last 5%, you get 95%, and then 5% more can cost you a ton. But what if that last 0.5% is costing you tons of money? And that I think is where we're at today. I think it's not just SVS, but there are products out there that are within reach of a normal person. I like to think SVS is one of those products that give you a reference experience, an uncompromised experience. And is there stuff out there that is better? Well, if you ask me, maybe not. But of course, I'm very biased. These are my children, Smith's children, all of our children. So we're biased. But if it's that last 0.5%, is that worth $100,000? Maybe the last 5% would be worth $100,000. But if it's only a 0.5%, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth $100,000. And maybe that's Andrew Robinson's point. I have not watched the video, but you said he said some nice things about a couple of our products, right?
Yeah, he gave a home theater recommendation. He gave a 2-channel recommendation, a couple different styles of 2 channels. So I just thought it was a different way to approach it, as far as going from speakers all the way down to the integrated amp or turntable, whatever components you would mix with it. So something to really look at as food for thought. And I guess Smith, from your perspective as a product designer, if you were given an unlimited budget to create a pair of speakers, I'm just curious, I feel like that's almost less of a challenge than saying, let's create the best speakers you can, at a price that's going to be more inclusive for people. And I think that's where.
It's a shame if this hobby can only be appreciated by the very, very rich. To me, it's not joyful for me to make, great products for rich people. I just don't. I don't vibe with that. And if we can make reference experiences for people who aren't, obviously you can't. If you don't have a job, you're probably not a candidate. But if you're working hard, every day, every week. We want you to be a candidate to have a reference experience. That's kind of part of our vision.
Yeah, I would totally agree. So,
Smith's thought on that, if you could, would you?
No, we this day in and day out, we're looking at everything and always trying to find the most value that we can bring to the finished product. And so, if you had an unlimited budget, it would just be a different problem, right? And then
But one of the things Smith and I do is we kind of say to ourselves, okay, if we could make an unlimited budget product, what would it be? And then we bring it to, and it can be very arduous, the process of bringing that reference experience to then price ranges that are within reach of normal people. But that is what we do, right, Smith?
Yeah, no, and I know I've said this before, but the Ultra Evolution series of speakers, a lot of that was inspired by design approaches and architectural approaches and speaker design philosophies that you basically don't find in any kind of approachable way. And so that was the challenge of that's only in those unattainable things, and I don't think it should be unattainable. I think there is a way that we can bring this to everybody. And so that was a huge part of that inspiration.
Yeah. And I think that gets sort of validated as far as, this video and so a lot of the other reviews that you read and, not only just the technology, but the performance and the end result. It just sort of, again, validates what everything you guys are saying. So anyways, check out his video. I strongly encourage you to look at it, but we are due for a giveaway. And our first giveaway,
Did
we're
we give the
second
giveaway
giveaway
to the person, the contest winner?
that's going to be the second one. We're working hard. We're going through the responses to make sure we get an honest response.
Anyone who guessed the answer to my question is entered automatically for the Prime Elevations, right?
That's right. You only have to get one
of their
leg right.
choice.
That's right. But we'll announce that as our next giveaway. But the first one is a pair of our Prime Wireless Pro powered bookshelf speakers. Just that a smartphone, you got a true hi-fi system. The winner of that is Dean Roberts. Dean Roberts, congratulations. Got a new Prime Wireless Pro system coming your way.
Cool.
So I'm sad to say at this point, Smith, we're going to have you in the waiting room while we bring our special guest on. If we have time for some Q&A with you later, then we'll see you. So stick around, please. But we're going to say goodbye for now.
Well, this gave Smith an excuse to have a scotch at 3 p.m, so you can't. It wasn't a total waste.
Happy
Smith's on the West Coast.
So cheers to that. Thank you, Smith, for your contributions there. So our special guest for the evening, as I mentioned before, is Jason Gorber. He is a film critic that has written for everyone from Screen Anarchy to Rotten Tomatoes, RogerEbert.com, Globe and Mail, Esquire.com, Collider, Paste Magazine, Slashfilm. I don't want to leave anything out, but I feel like I might. So he's a very distinguished guest. He also just came back from the Toronto International Film Festival, and he's been doing a lot of the film festivals. So just a vast experience in the world of cinema. Jason, how are you this evening?
I'm good, although I just spent a bunch of time doing tech support trying to get a webcam to work with Cam Link and your streaming software. So if it's a little jaggy, sorry about that, guys.
Well, I'm not. There's a little lip syncing issue. You sound clear and you look good, so I think that's sort of the biggest prerogative there. And I did want to mention
that's perfect. That's the way most home theaters work, right? So there may be
no, not when they're set properly.
So I did want to throw something out. You and Gary have something in common. I actually, in doing my due diligence, I pulled up your.
Clearly, it's not hair.
Jason has he's legit when you have a Wikipedia page. Jason has his own Wikipedia page here, but says here that you have a degree in philosophy. And Gary, don't you have a degree in philosophy?
Yes, but I have a bachelor's, so he's smarter than I am. Looks like you have a master's.
I have 2 degrees in philosophy, so that makes me one better. I think that's how it works.
At least one better, probably more than that.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, Jason.
Jason, who's your favorite philosopher?
I studied Foucault for a long time, so if I had to pick one, it's probably that prick.
What about you, Gary? I'm sure people are itching to know what yours is now.
I think the greatest man who ever lived was Socrates.
Okay. I mean, that's just cheating. That's like saying.
I know, you're right. That's like easy. That's easy. I don't want to be too controversial.
Go with Thrasymachus, and then we'll get going.
There you go.
All right. Well, I did want to start with sort of a random question here that also came from your Wikipedia bio, and I feel like Larry might have some feedback on this too. But you wrote an article about the best seat to sit in a movie theater and how important that was. And I think there's some, obviously connections to the world of home theater as well. But what was sort of the premise of that? And, give people your advice.
Yeah, so basically, it's one of those things that there is a right answer, and then there's other factors that come into it. And I think that really sort of plays the way that it actually works with a home theater, too. I mean, the quote-unquote scientific way is that you take half the distance of the screen, half the width of the screen, and sit that far back. And usually in a movie theater, at least the multiplexes around here, that's usually the second or third row of the second section. There'll be a first section, then there'll be a sort of a pass, and then a section. That's the way that the theaters are built up here in Canada. Basically, you're usually in line with the first of the surround speakers that's actually set up in the theater. And you want to be dead center. And basically that's where the light is the best, where the sound is the best, where they actually do all the monitoring, etc. Now, there's only a couple of those seats. And obviously movie theater, like at a home theater, is designed to have multiple seating locations, but one is that prime spot. And so I'm absolutely somebody that, previously, God, for certain films, I lined up for more than a week. For other film works out. So for sure, people want to be on the aisle because they want to go and get a drink halfway through the film or whatever. But where's the best seat to sit, or versus where is the actual optimal seat? For me, those are both the same thing, which is basically what I articulate in that article.
Larry, does that jive with your experience doing the all the theaters you've been to?
Yeah, being out on the road, I go to a ton of movies because I got nothing better to do at night. I do typically try to get just past mid row or mid of the theater, middle seats. If you go to Dolby Cinema, that's always rows G and H at AMC. So I try to pop right in there in the middles and have a great experience. IMAX, I tend to try to get a little bit closer because of the field of view and the audio is just a different experience. But yeah, you really stick in those middle sections. I don't ever like sitting off to the side because for me, then the audio is not great. But if I can get in kind of that middle 10%, then I'm in a good space.
Yeah,
There you
and so
go.
Larry's probably sitting a little bit further back than I will. I'm probably in a regular movie theater about a third of the way back in the screen, but dead center. We're both picking dead center. And IMAX is very different for lots of reasons because the way that their surround setup actually works, your rear surround, especially on a proper 1:3:1 proper full size real IMAX, not a Limax. The way the surround speakers are, if you are way further towards the back, you're actually behind where the surround field is. So, for example, for anybody in Canada actually watching this, it's F20, F21 on a regular IMAX at the Toronto Scotia. It'll be, again, second row or of a normal movie theater in the second section, or fourth row in something what we call ABX, which is the Canadian equivalent of Limax in the States, where you have basically a 1.9 or a 1.78 screen with IMAX branding. Because IMAX is from Canada, I'm very, very much in favor of reserving the term IMAX for a proper 1:3:1 screen with a laser GT or a 15x70 setup. That for me is real IMAX. Everything else is sort of just a really nice theater. Dolby gets complicated. We don't have those up here. So that's another whole conversation to have.
All right. Well, you were just at the Toronto International Film Festival, so I am curious if there were any films that really stuck out from an audio perspective. And then I believe you had some interactions with some interesting directors and other folks, and I'm curious what your conversations were there. So two-part question there about
Yeah,
TIFF.
and I have the same answer. I mean, a glorious, glorious audio presentation is the new Elvis documentary by Baz Luhrmann. I actually had to get a chance with him because we were actually talking about the difference, because I saw it at the premiere, which was a 1.79 screen, and then he saw it also in the proper IMAX, the Laser GT room. It is a stunning documentary, impeccably edited, and what it really is a celebration of his Vegas residencies from the early 70s to his passing, basically. But what they've done is they've assembled these multiple performances all into one. That's a beautiful montage, but also incorporated the voice of Elvis himself through this interview footage. And whatever your preconceptions are of Presley, whether you're a giant fan or you're somebody very skeptical and think that, that he was a hero to most, to quote Public Enemy, but he never meant blank for me. Whatever your way that you're actually coming into it, it's such an exquisite articulation of his talent, of his charisma, and his musicality. And the sound mixing, be it the original elements they actually managed to actually restore, but also new mixes that they've done. They've actually, it's Baz Luhrmann, so he messes with audio, stripping elements away, just having vocals and a little bit of drums and bass. It is incredible. And when that thing, just like Elvis, the 4K, his version of the movie came out, is an absolute triumph of a home theater mix. This documentary, epic, Elvis Presley in concert, is one of the most glorious audio moments that I had there. And then another one, if I can throw in, just very quickly, is a film that actually premiered at Cannes called Seurat, S-I-R-A with a line T. And I don't want to give too much away because this is a beautiful film when it's on the festival circuit and opens up. It's a little independent film. This is something that you're going to have to struggle to see, but you want to see, if you can, on the biggest screen you can, with the best sound that you can. And if and when it does come out on for home release, this will be a reference audio mix. It was so good and so loud. There was a moment at the Cannes screening where the speakers actually stopped, and we thought the entire sound system at one of the most important and most prestigious film venues in the world actually got broken because the sound was so impactful. actually what happened was a bunch of people had actually knocked out the power for the entirety of the can, and only the projector's backup power actually allowed it on. But we actually thought for a while, oh my God, this soundtrack is so good, it ruined one of the greatest sound systems in the history of projected cinema. So yeah, Surratt is one for you to absolutely be on the hunt.
All right, and that is that a foreign film, or is that produced in Canada, the US?
It's a European film, has all kinds of different people. They're wandering through Spain, so it is subtitled, but it's an incredible integration of soundscape and all the various elements. There's what I love. I mean, some of the great sound mixes. We always we've talked before about the big sort of splashy superheroic stuff, but I love when really clever filmmakers recognize that sound is at least 50% of the film going experience. And some of the great art films of all time are elevated enormously by their actual soundtracks. And so for people who are always sort of picking the same discs all the time to actually not only showcase their cinema, but sort of be engrossed within the audio perspective of their movie-going experience, I highly recommend that you actually sort of go slightly off track and look for some of these art films that have incredible sounds.
Yeah, so that actually, I'm going to do the giveaway, but think about the next question I had was actually about, as a reviewer, what is your criteria for judging sound? And I think you gave a little bit of a hint as to sort of some of the secondary criteria that maybe people don't think about, when comparing maybe like a Marvel movie or a big action movie. But let me do this giveaway, and then I would love to know a little bit more about the criteria that you would, stick to when reviewing audio in a film. Prime Elevation is the next giveaway, and this is for Gary's wild card concert question here, and our winner of that is Kurt Schulwitz. Kurt Schulwitz, congratulations. You're a surprise giveaway winner for guessing at least one element of Gary's concert experience there correctly.
Well, it doesn't have to be correct, but anyway, I don't want to create some ill will here. It was a very complicated question anyway.
There were some. So Jason, yeah, I am curious because you haven't given out very many 100s out of 100s when it comes to reviews, at least on Metacritic. So I'm just curious, what from an audio perspective will get you 100 out of 100, and what goes into that?
Oh God, I mean, Gravity is 100 out of 100. Edge of Tomorrow is 100 out of 100. The Dune films, like those are all the big boisterous ones that people use all the time. I think one of the greatest sound mixes ever is Roma. I think we talked about it actually last time I was on. One of the incredible things when you look at Cuarón, who did Gravity, I think a lot of people know that film, but he's using the same sound mix guys, these Oscar-winning sound mix guys, to do his essentially kitchen dramas, like kitchen room dramas. They're incredible. And the use of Atmos in Roma is absolutely jaw-droppingly amazing, not because there's lasers going off and stuff like that, but because it's immersive, because it's actually integrating it. And look, nobody buys a TV just because it's the brightest under fluorescent light at the big box store. You know that to get accurate picture, to get accurate sound, doesn't mean that you're just looking for the brightest or the loudest speakers. You're looking for the best reproduction. The same thing with mixing. Yes, you can have all kinds of things that make, I love John Wick. It's a very impressive soundscape, but I don't think of it as one that I sort of go to for the joy and pleasure other than showing off a system. And I'm well aware there are many people that's the joy they get. There are people that have their cars and giant subwoofers in their cars and don't actually play music. They play the equivalent of test tones so that their car windows almost shatter, etc. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that integrates. And if film is 50 to 60% improved by sound, in the same way that editing, if it's an edit and you notice it, it might not be a great edit. Something is not the most directed or the most acted or the most soundscapey. But some films are so absolutely elevated by tasteful, impressive, beautifully directed, beautifully assembled soundscapes. Apocalypse Now, an obvious 100 out of 100, 1,000 out of 100. But Lawrence of Arabia has incredible audio. Jaws is one of my favorite new surround mixes that's ever been done because they were so tasteful in keeping with the aesthetic of the mono soundtrack that it was actually able to integrate into using surround when effective, but keeping things narrow. Barry Lyndon, one of the great visual films of all time, finally out on 4K from Criterion, has a new 5.1 mix that, again, was done completely in keeping with the mono. So the way that you do the mixes, the way that you actually deal with them, absolutely exquisite. And I, who listen to a lot of music, Atmos music, etc., some of the great Atmos mixes of all time can use all of my 15 speakers, but do so in a way that's subtle, the way that's musical. And that, for me, is an absolute key. It's got to integrate in the movie and not be so showy that it becomes the center stage, that all you're doing is watching the same chapter and over again just to show off your system. You should be in the movie.
That is some really important nuance to bring into the conversation, because I don't know that always gets recognized as much as it should when you're talking about the sound quality of a movie.
And Gary, I bet you could build speakers that are very loud and sound like crap. But I bet you could, it's much harder to build speakers that actually sound great, and your speakers sound great because of a lot of effort on that front, not simply because you're trying to hit a particular decibel. It's the exact same thing with a sound mix.
It's funny you say that, because a lot of speaker companies, in order to make a splash, when we started, SVS didn't even have speakers, and we started with speakers more than 10 years ago, and we could have done what you described to try to make a splash, and instead we just worked really hard to be accurate and have no particular bias in terms of its sound. And I think that's the right approach, but it's a slower, steadier appreciation, because it's not flamboyant.
It's not a secret, Jason, you do own a PB16 Ultra subwoofer, and I think bass is a critical component in a lot of what you were talking about there, in terms of setting mood, in terms of integrating it in to what's actually happening that you're seeing. So I'm curious, why is bass important to movies beyond what I just said? And then are there some favorites that you might have as far as LFE tracks in film that maybe people wouldn't expect, some dark horses out there?
Sure. I mean, look, one of the most glorious film experiences I ever had was actually specifically going to a theater to see Jurassic Park. It was the first time I had ever seen a DTS soundtrack. And the moment that the Tyrannosaurus Rex sort of came out and the water starts doing the trickle, and you sort of felt it in your chest, that's stunning. I set my subwoofer up on a full range system so I can barely hear it, but I can feel it. And when that impact actually comes, and I have a 16 ported subwoofer in a 16-foot by 20-foot room. Ridiculous. And thanks to the people at SVS that actually helped me set it up and decide whether or not this should actually be something to work in this room, I can make the walls rattle 3 stories up. I'm in a semi-detached Victorian home. I can make my neighbors fall out of bed if I wanted to. That's not the way that I set it up. I set it up so that it completely integrates. And what I love about SVS, and I'm sitting here as a fan, I'm a professional critic who gives my opinion for a living. With integrity, what I have loved from the beginning with SVS, when I started with one of the column monsters and then went to the 16, the way that I set up my Atmos is that from SVS, I have something that is neutral, that can integrate into my system. That I can have the subwoofer working with my B&W 802s, which are flat to about 20 hertz. Do I need a subwoofer? Of course, no. But do I need LFE to be cleaner? Do I need to take some of the strain away when I'm listening to multi-channel mixes from my main speakers? Absolutely. You asked about what things that I listen to that might be off sort of ramp. Rocket Man. Okay. I love Rocket Man. It's an incredible movie, but the movie soundtrack is, again, it's one of those things that I've been very nerding out. You know, Nicholas, that I've been testing Atmos stuff. And one of the things that I do is I turn off all the channels except for Atmos, because then I learn about the mix. I'm actually listening to what the sound mixers are thinking about. And I love when almost nothing is there and suddenly they choose to actually have different elements there. Rocket Man, which is a wonderful lie about Elton John's early days, is a very musical and very impactful stuff, but then it actually breaks down into just people having moments of dialogue. So the whole thing isn't just in your face, it is an integration between essentially a British drama and a musical. And the fact that both of those can work with something, with an SVS sub integrated, so that when it needs to punch, when it needs to kick, it's there, but it's not boomy. It's not overpowering. It's integrating with everything else that I got going on here in this room. And that for me is absolutely critical. It's not about when it needs to.
The point you make is really important, I think, because we get asked this question all the time, which is, oh, is my room too small for X, Y, or Z subwoofer? And the reality is, and this is not me self-servingly trying to talk people into getting giant subwoofers, but as long as it's properly set up, the subwoofer is not going to be too big for the room because it was set up properly. And now if you want to create some kind of a, as you described, like that Iasca car stereo blow your windows out experience, you could do that, but that wouldn't be accurate. That wouldn't be true to the content. Where the size of the room comes into play and dictates more the subwoofer is when the room is too large. And so for that reason, you need more horsepower to, create the experience for every listening position in the room. But when it's small, all you need to do is adjust the subwoofer properly so that it's delivering the exact true to the content proportion of low frequencies. And the benefit you have, Jason, I suspect, and then I'll quiet down and let you either confirm or deny.
You're the boss.
You can go to low when you have a subwoofer of that level of performance. You can go to low frequencies that are astonishing, like 12 hertz, which a smaller subwoofer would not be able to do.
It was a real decision about what could integrate with something that already have lower bass, and obviously I had a 12 before. I started with Velodynes. I worked my way up into actually having the SVS, and when I went with the 16, it was really that if you think about it, we look at TVs, it's a visual thing. There was a shade of frequencies I was missing. And it wasn't just like crazy low bass. It was how could I have this painting that I have all the colors of the spectrum, but just in this corner over here, I just needed a little bit more luminance, a little brushing up of that stuff. When I listen to 2-channel, I do not use the subwoofer. When I listen to 5.1, I absolutely do. So I need something that's going to integrate musically where you're really going to hear it, not just because it's explosions, not just because there's stuff going off, but I'm going to hear the difference if I'm listening to 2-channel on my turntable setup and I'm listening to, I don't know, Elton John again, an SACD of Elton John, and I'm listening to the original recording in 2-channel and I hear how the mix is done and how they integrate. I have equivalent of monitor speakers, same bloody speakers they have at Abbey Road, right? So I'm listening in 2-channel and I hear how all the frequencies from the highest to the lowest form one sort of continuous integrated picture. When I'm then listening to the 5.1, I don't want to have 5 speakers that are floating around and then this monster sub that is dominating everything just because it can go low and big. I want something that's going to integrate. And it's not just a matter of turning the volume down or setting the phase or setting this, everything, the mechanics of it, the way that it actually integrates, the musicality of the sub is incredibly important to me. And one of the joys of having the 16, and maybe, God forbid, one day a 17, but one of the joys of it is that, again, I could turn my sub off and everything sounds great. And then I turn the sub off and I didn't know it could sound that good. When I turn it back on, when I actually tweak it on, it's at minus 16 decibel. It's just there, just adding that sort of heft. When it's a movie and it's really impacting, I have that. I have my pant legs are blowing. I have all of that. I am feet away from where the subwoofer is. And if it wants to kick me in the butt, it absolutely is going to kick me in the butt. But where I love the sub, where it actually comes to the fore, is when I'm listening to 5.1 or Atmos music, or I'm listening to a very music-heavy film. West Side Story, the Spielberg one, the opening sequence of that, which has incredible sound design. Unsurprisingly, again, you have a Spielberg giant of sci-fi films and action films doing a musical. You know it's absolutely going to shine from a sound perspective. That is a film just to put on and just revel in how beautifully integrated the audio is.
Well,
And
I do want to dive into Atmos a little bit more, but we have another giveaway to do. We owe the community a SB1000 Pro for our next giveaway, and the winner of that subwoofer is Jake Miller. Congratulations, Jake Miller. You got yourself a new subwoofer coming your way. So we gave away a pair of Prime Elevations earlier in the night, and I know you have some Ultra Evolution Elevations, sporting for your height effects. And I'm curious from your perspective, Atmos started as sort of that ceiling bounce effect. It was object-based surround sound. It was, I think in some ways limited as far as how much it added to the entire soundscape, and it's evolved a bit. So I'm curious from a critic's perspective, what have you noticed as far as that evolution goes from sort of the early days of Atmos and how it was used by filmmakers to where it is today, even with music in some instances?
We could talk for hours, and I will not do that to our poor audience. A lot of people do Atmos mixes in the same way that a lot of people do HDR on home releases. Just because it's in an Atmos container doesn't mean that you're making the most of it. And just because you have stuff blaring out of all speakers doesn't mean that you're making the most of it. I have, yeah, so there's, it's probably up there. It's just off camera. I still have the little guys. I have a pair of those. And then I have 4 of the big guys. I'm going with a 716 now that I did an upgrade. The difference for me from the Prime Elevations to the Prime Ultra Elevations is huge. It is not just a matter of that the technology has changed. I had, and again, I have a complicated setup. We've talked about it before. I have a relatively narrow ceiling. My ceiling's about 6'4", so I can't ceiling mount. I actually have to have stuff sort of creating another layer. Basically, I'm creating a second bed layer above my 7.1. Not ideal, but for the stuff I listen to, it's been remarkable. And with the Ultras, the integration I have with diamond tweeters on my B&W is exemplary. Absolutely extraordinary. And the fact that when we talk about, I know you talked just before I came on about the difference between the $10,000 and $100,000 setup. I have the latter, and I'm integrating speakers that cost, what are they, 1,500 Canadian, with speakers that retail for $65,000. And they're talking to one another, and timbrely they're working. That is one of the joys I have about this particular brand. For Atmos itself, for the mixes, you look at the Fleetwood Mac Atmos mix, it's very robust. It's very impressive. But weirdly, something that you would think goes crazy, something like the Flaming Lips Yoshimi Battles the Robots, you know the one I mean? The 5.1 mix of that is one of the most obnoxious and most glorious 5.1 mixes I've ever heard. It goes crazy. The drums spin around the room. It is completely insane. And weirdly, the Atmos is more tame. And so for a band like that, it sounds like they actually dulled down some of the adventurousness of that particular Atmos track. Some, like In Excess's Kick, go a little bit too far. The Diamonds, Elton John, as we talk about, the Atmos is actually stunning. I have Dark Side of the Moon on, I think, 7 different surround mixes, be it quadraphonic, 5.1, Atmos, etc., different mixes and stuff like that. All of them different, all of them providing a new and unique experience. But what I want to be able to do is to, in the flexibility of my setup, is to have choices. I will listen to something in 2-channel. I'll listen to it in mono, or I'll listen to it in full Atmos. You're absolutely right, though, that a lot of the mixes now, I think, are just going so that they have a checkbox on that, especially if you're listening to Atmos on streaming, where the bitrate is not sufficient to actually give you the impact that you actually get from the Blu-ray audio. But we're in a glorious time where some of the greatest albums of all time are coming out with actually beautifully mixed Atmos, and I'm getting a chance to actually hear them. And one critical part of that listening is the integration that I have with my existing system. I needed something that was going to be up and aimed down towards me, and SVS provided the perfect solution for me.
Well, Jason, you are an absolute encyclopedia of cinematic knowledge. I mean, we could just do this for hours, but we have some questions we got to get to you guys as well. And I appreciate you jumping on with us. Is there anything you got coming up in the near future you want to tease? Articles, reviews, anything, projects you're working on before we say goodbye?
I'd love anybody, if they're out there, if you don't mind, go to my YouTube channel is that youtube.com/thatshelf. I do vinyl releases. I got to go to the Criterion closet and actually do an entire video inside there. I actually got to broadcast through there. It would really help me out a lot, because I think I'm speaking to the people. You understand, I'm not coming at this because I'm looking for demo material. I'm coming at this because I love music and I love movies. And I think so many people who are actually watching here who are like, God, congratulations to all of you that are winning these amazing devices. God bless. But it would really help a lot if you actually participate in in the conversation, because that's what it's all about for me. It's all about building that community, and I really, really appreciate you guys and everything you do. And honestly, it means the world that you actually reach out to me to allow you to be part of this conversation today.
Well,
I love your passion, Jason. I mean, it's very infectious. I'm watching the comments, and everybody's into it. Your passion really is infectious. So thank you.
And the
Anytime
YouTube channel is
want me,
that
I'll show
shelf. It's that shelf, correct? THAT shelf.
That
shelf
again, it's that place in your house where you stack all your nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that shelf, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's got one of those shelves. The problem is I have an entire house like that.
Well, it shines through in the passion. Thank you again, Jason. We'll definitely connect down the road.
Thanks,
And,
guys. I'm sorry for the camera issues. Now we know that Camlink doesn't like streamers.
Thanks,
Jason.
Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Smith, hopefully you're not too deep into the scotch there. No, you're looking good. You're looking just fine. So we did have some people submit questions ahead of time. We've been asking for those on the email that we use to promote these. So I
mean,
like
we don't get Smith every week, so maybe we focus the ones that Smith can really
this was
shed
interesting.
light on.
I'm going to paraphrase it, but Rob M asked, the 3000 micro has an 800 watt amplifier. The SB1000 Pro has a 325 watt amplifier. And he's asking, shouldn't those be swapped? Why wouldn't the larger driver have more amplitude behind it?
Well, and by the way, when you say that those wattage numbers, you're talking about continuous power, but
correct.
Our platform is really sophisticated in terms of delivering peak power, so the differences are less than it sounds like. But go ahead, Smith.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting, it's a good question, right? And really, it's just, why do we pair certain amps with certain drivers? And it's really because the whole system, the whole ecosystem is always out to achieve some specific goal. Or a series of goals of not just SVS level acoustic performance, but also maybe we need to hit a particular size, or we have to hit a certain peak output, or we have to have certain dimensions to the thing. And so that kind of drives the total conversation and all the different parts that go into it. And, when we talk about subwoofers on a surface level, we say, oh, it's a 12-inch woofer and it's a 325 watt RMS amplifier. But actually, there's a lot. That is really just a surface level appreciation of what the product is. When you really get down into it, we're looking at what's the voice coil wire made out of, what's the bobbin material, what kind of magnets are we using, and then what is the architecture of the amplifier that's delivering that power. And so, and all those things get developed in a kind of a symphony together. And so, at the end of the day, we're gonna pair the right driver with the right amplifier in the right cabinet to make the system that we're trying to make.
Well, the 3000 micro particularly is deploying a lot of power for a very specific reason, right? I mean, we have two 8-inch drivers, dual opposed active 8-inch drivers, and they're trying to create basically magic out of a 9.5-inch cube, and that we're not reinventing the laws of physics. That we don't know how to do. So what we do is we're using very sophisticated drivers that can accept a lot of power from the amplifier, right, Smith?
Right. Yeah, and then the micro is a great example of, well, this product, we really wanted to emphasize the ability to make this thing physically small. And so when you starve drivers of cabinet volume by putting them in a small box, you have to find other tools to overcome that. And so
that's a really good
more
point.
Horsepower, right? More power.
Absolutely. All right, we got another. We got a cable question. I know everyone loves cable questions, but we posted an article on our blog earlier this week comparing RCA and balanced XLR as far as connections for subwoofer goes. And George S is asking, is there a trade-off with the length in terms of the performance with RCA or XLR? And is there a recommendation we have as far as if you have a longer run for one?
This is a great question, because people ask me all the time, should I do the balanced XLR cable? Is there a benefit to it? And for the most part, in a normal length run, a couple of meter run, the primary benefit is noise rejection. But in a longer run, then you're getting to a place where there's significantly less signal loss in a really long run of XLR. Smith, you want to comment on that?
No, I totally agree. And so, and actually, you see XLRs used a lot in studios and mixing. And a lot of the case, it's because they have to have really long runs from a console down into the floor, across into a mixing booth, like then going to a bunch of mics. And so they may have 20, 30, 50 feet of cable length, and you need something with the noise rejection and the ability to carry the signal without loss over those long distances.
Now, as far as, interference that could result from, crosstalk or other components, all of our cables have advanced shielding that will allow you to reject that. But is there any advantage from XLR over RCA as far as all types of interference?
Yeah, balance interconnects just up the ante and what they're able to do in terms of noise rejection. But then that's also tied to electronics on both the sending and receiving ends that have the circuitry to support that and make use of that.
All right. I think we have time for one more. I know Gary's got salsa dancing tonight. No, it's not salsa.
No, I got to Zoom. Stop that.
Could have let people on.
I already had one embarrassing confession, please.
All good. All right, let's see. We had a question about the subwoofers and the purpose. This actually came from an integrator who wanted to people to be educated about the purpose of the trigger on the back of a subwoofer, and also some of our newer subwoofers have the IR control. And I don't think a lot of people are familiar with these features. So Smith, maybe you can speak to that, and Gary and anyone else, Larry, if you want to pitch in about what the features there, IR and trigger.
IR feature I'll geek out on, yeah.
Yeah, so all of our subwoofers, even before I joined SVS, have had a 3.5 millimeter trigger jack. And so that jack allows some upstream control system, maybe even just a standard AV receiver, to then instruct electronics to leave the standby mode and go into an on mode. And more exotic and more complicated control systems, be it Crestron or Control 4 or Dante or these other things, can then execute control sequences for turn out dimming your lights and put down the projector and close your blinds and turn on the popcorn machine and just control the whole thing because you hit the play the movie button. And so that's just a small thing that's on the back of our subwoofers that allow them to be integrated with any control system largely. And then our newer subwoofers, the 17 Ultra and the 5000 series, you'll see a
5000 Revolution, do you mean? And 17 Ultra Revolution?
Yes, thank you for my lazy speak. They also have a red 3.5 millimeter IR input jack, and so that allows a little bit richer control over those subwoofers to say push a preset if you use presets, or make some other adjustments to the subwoofer through a control system.
We're going to keep doing more of that because the CEDIA integrator community has really embraced SVS, and they're really clamoring for those kinds of features. For the average person who's just buying a subwoofer for their system, this is meaningless. But for an integrator who wants to put SVS in a sophisticated home automation system or a control system, these are technologies that and platforms that allow them to integrate it more smoothly for these very high-end applications.
So I do want to thank everyone for the awesome questions. We're going to do an extended lightning round on our next one. Jason was just too good of a guest not to have on, so thank you to him. But we will get to a lot of these questions that we did not get to this evening, and we may have to have Jason in a one-on-one sort of interview format so we can really pick.
We got to have Smith back. Smith's good in these. Yeah,
and we got to get Smith back too. So thank you to everyone who left the comments and who were nice enough to answer Gary's trivia. Our final giveaway of the evening is a 3000 micro subwoofer, and the winner of that subwoofer is Kevin Mackey. Kevin Mackey, congratulations.
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
We'll have an announcement about our next upcoming happy hour, but we do have a couple of live events coming up. Apt in just outside Chicago on November 4th, and then just announced IQ Home Entertainment in Virginia December 4th. So a month apart for those. We'll get the information about those up on the site so you all can.
And we still
join
have
us.
one pending in northern New Jersey, so stay tuned in Paramus, New Jersey, which is an easy slog from New York City as well. So that should happen before Christmas.
That's right. Well, thank you again for everybody tuning in. Thank you to Jason for joining us. Thank you for Smith filling in short notice. And Ed, I hope you're enjoying your time. We look forward to having you back for our next happy hour. Thank you, gentlemen, and happy listening to everybody out there.
Thanks, everyone.